are back, Mac and Jet live. The next live, couple more topics, but again, we're going to start off with sharing. Please share this. Please like this. Also on the YouTube channel, Mac TV $. Mac TV $. Want to make sure you go there so you subscribe, and then you want to like that page, like that show, and then share it. And then you're going to hit the bell. Once you subscribe, you're going to see a bell come up. You hit that bell, and a pop-up screen will come, and you hit all. And then every time we download, which we'll start doing next week, downloading all the shows, you'll know when we put a new show on, and you'll be able to tune in. Why don't black people vote, Elder Jet? Let's go. I need
Reasons?
to know. Yeah, why don't we
Reasons?
vote? Why? Now, can you break them up into good reasons and bad reasons? Because I don't even know if there's any good reasons.
I don't think there's a good reason. I think our number one go-to is we feel like our vote doesn't matter. We feel like our vote doesn't matter. We feel like our vote doesn't count. That's a product of our own laziness, and so it doesn't matter is our excuse, because that way we don't have to seek our polling place. We don't have to register to vote. We don't We have a tendency to be like, I want to help you, but don't make me do stuff.
So black people are lazy.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, that's what you said.
I said no, that's not what I said.
What'd you say?
What I'm saying is the excuse of non-voting black people. So non-voting black people, there's a large percentage of non-voting black people that are lazy.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of black people who do vote, so they wouldn't fall in that category.
Yeah, and the one thing about the discussions that we have, I mean, you can put them in the category of, to me, real talk. And when I was saying I was being facetious, but what I am going to say is that you can be lazy and it's not a negative, meaning sometimes, an answer can be a lazy answer, meaning it's an answer with not a lot of thought. It's something you do, not choosing it after looking at all the possibilities. And so I wrote down some things here that I want to look at here. And what I wrote down, one of the things I wrote down here is that you see a lot that people say that your vote doesn't count. Mm-hmm. That's why. Well, it ain't no use in voting, your vote don't count. And this is what I have to say to that is that when you vote, your job is to go vote. Your responsibility is to go vote. Your responsibility is not to count the votes. Your responsibility is not to figure out whether it's counted or not. Your responsibility, your right, what you're charged with in a democracy and being a citizen is to vote for your government. The government that we have is voted in. And the reason I say that is you hear a lot of people say that, but they really don't know whether it counts or not. Like, have you ever really talked to anybody who says the vote don't count and they've explained to you how they know that?
No.
And so that's like that. To me, that's a lazy answer because you gave an answer that you really don't know. You didn't do any research. Now somebody says, "Oh, I worked in a poll place," and what they do is every time they come in, they look for all the black people's votes and they push them aside and throw them in the garbage. And I seen that because I oversaw it, and that's what it was explained to me. Like, that's an answer for letting you know that it doesn't count. And so that's, to me, that's not a good answer. So my answer to my vote don't count is it's not your job to count the vote. Your job is to vote. So that would have no reason why you do not vote. And in order to, if your vote don't count, it's the courts that's supposed to determine that. It's lawyers. It's advocacy organizations that look into that and force the government to do the right things. That's how you rectify that, not by not voting. What do you say to that?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, we have to vote. So it's. I can't advocate for reasons to not vote. So I'm.
So you have no debate on this one.
No.
What about the one? It doesn't matter. Things never change. I vote all the time. Things never change. I ain't voting no more. Like, nothing changes. Still got, it's the same things happening. My life don't change.
Usually when you hear those excuses, It comes from people who only vote presidential elections. Local politics matters most in your everyday life. So you need to vote when there's a sheriff's election. You need to vote for city council. You need to vote for your representatives. You need to vote for your county commissioners. You need to be voting every time there's an election that you're eligible to vote in. This is how you see, and you need to encourage your ALIKes, when the people that think like you need to encourage them to vote also, so that your opinions and viewpoints can be represented at the polls.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And my answer to it doesn't matter, things don't change is, that's just not true. Like, that's not true. Things change every year. Things change every single decade. And you know who they change for? They change for people that vote. They change from people who vote. They change for people who are educated about their vote. They change for people who support a certain candidate, and they give them the support to get more votes and to win. Then they go in, and for that particular thing or some things, that changes. Ask LGBTQ community about whether or not they can get married or not. Ask the, I can't remember the legislation that was passed. It was called Dreamers, the Dream Act. Ask those immigrants who now can stay in school or graduate from here and then become a citizen because of the Dream Act. Talk to people who have disabilities, and now they have a right to go to a government building and they can get in there because there's a ramp. I mean, again, talk to women, talk to black people who now can vote. I mean, when you support, when you educate yourself, things change for you. But if you don't vote and your group don't vote at high numbers, things don't change for you. And if you don't support the people who feel like you feel with that vote, they can't get in to change things for you. So that's my thought on that. Here's the next one. Well, the politicians, they're all liars and they're all corrupt. So why vote? What do you think about that one, Elder? Is that true? All the politicians are corrupt and liars?
Well, I think in that all human beings are corrupt and liars. And I think sometimes maybe, some more than others. Yeah, I mean, there's no flawless candidates. I mean, if you do enough research, you can turn anybody into a liar. Anyone who's looking out for their own best interests above the people they represent is going to be swimming in a swamp of corruption. So, I mean, there's some truth to that. But what you need to find is somebody that you would rather have that position or that job instead, not just throw your hands up and leave whatever cooks in the kitchen.
And I think we'll get back to what you said, and I facetiously, misquoted you by saying, yeah, you said that black people are lazy. It's not black people. It can be anybody who doesn't go do what they're supposed to do. But my point is just what you just said. Then you need to, since you are the legislator of corrupt and liar, and you're around people who may not be a liar or a corrupt, then you need to get that person to run for office, for a position, and you need to support that person, and you need to register to vote and get other people to vote to get this person who doesn't lie and who is not corrupt in to the process, so that things can change, so that you will vote for that type of person. And again, I just think it's the reasons. Now, I'm sure there's some other reasons. Again, I won't get into religion because I don't know what religion, how it says it. I see our brother Gregorio Watchman is watching. He may know of a religious belief that actually says don't vote, and it's in their charter or whatever. But I don't know that that's the case. There's some movements who say they don't vote, and so I don't know what their reasonings are specific. But these are just general things I've heard, and so let me just say this to those of you out there and to you, Elder. Listen to these facts. In 1965, we know that there was the Civil Rights Act that gave the Voters' Rights Act that gave everybody the right to vote. But let me tell you what the meat of it was and why it was a they say the right to vote. What it did is, if you guys don't know, all elections are state run. So it's states that determine how elections go and how you register and all that, which I think is totally ridiculous. Anyway, so different states can do different things with how you vote and what it takes to vote. Well, what the Voters' Rights Act did is it said that in order to change anything on voting, to make it harder to vote or to make it easier to vote, whatever, if you changed anything from what you had then, it had to go through the government. The government had the ability to come, the federal government had to come in and look at it, and you had to prove that this should be done. And so that made it harder for people to put in what we used to see back in the Jim Crow age, is what they call poll taxes. Like, in order to vote, Elder Jet, you got to tell me how many jelly beans are in that jar, or you have to own property before you can vote. They would put stipulations in before that, and now they could not do that. So anyway, this is a thing about that we may not know about legislation. Every 3, 4, 5 years, this would come up again to be renewed. So in other words, everybody have the right to vote. We're going to make sure we look at it. This is the right thing to do. But we're going to revisit this in 3 or 4 years. I don't understand that. It's either right or it's not right. Well, here's some statistics that I put down. After the Civil Rights Act, it was some places they started making it automatic registration. The DMVs and places like that. Federal agencies that most people don't know. There's a lot of federal agencies that's required to allow you to register. So if you go in for like Jobs and Family Services, they should ask if you're registered, and they should register you to vote. When you get out of jail, the judge should have it ready. Not the judge, but part of your outtake should be registration. So you're registered to vote when you get out of prison. Anyway, also what happened was in 1970, under Republican President Nixon, the Senate revoted 64-12 to renew the Voters' Rights Act. In 1975, Gerald Ford, 77-12, the Senate renewed the Voters' Rights Act. In 1982, Ronald Reagan got there, signed it after the Senate, 85-8, renewed the Voter Rights Bill. 1992, Bush Sr., 75-20, the Senate ratified and renewed that bill. In 2006, Bush Jr., 98-0, it was renewed in 2006. Then something happened in 2008. What do you think happened in 2008? Somebody out there know what happened in 2008? Go ahead, Elder.
Barack Obama won the election.
Man, well, all he was the president that won an election. Those are all presidents. Why would this be any different? What would be any different about this president? Nothing really different, right? Other than he's a Democrat. Now, I didn't give you the Democrats because the Democrats, obviously, when those presidents was in, they pushed forward and they all got done. But I wanted to show that what the Republicans had done. Barack Obama changed. After that, in 2013, after that is when you start seeing all these changes trying to be law. It was taken to court because when Barack Obama voted, it was the most black participation in an election ever. The numbers raised. So what happened? All of a sudden, people start trying to restrict your voting. So in 2013, the Supreme Court gutted the Civil Rights Act by a 5-4 vote. And what they did was they took that mechanism that said when you change any voting laws and voting rules in your state, the government doesn't have anything to do with it. You don't have to go to the government first and see if it's fair to change it to what you're changing it to. That's why we see all these things changing. And I said all that to say, why would people be doing that about this vote that don't matter? Why would people be doing this vote about all politicians do is lie? Like, we have to play checkers, not chess. It's important to be taken away from us because it's the only way we can get the things that we want to have. And so in that situation, this is why we should vote. That's another good reason why we should vote. What do you say to that information I gave you? And anybody out there, I'm going to look at some of these comments. Go ahead, Elder. What do you got to say about that? Did you know all that?
No, I didn't know all that. I knew some of that. I didn't know it all. I watched a show about the 14th Amendment, and
that was awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and it gave a lot of that information. But it's No, it's no surprise to me. It's no surprise to me how things work, how they happen. When people, but what you see more is when a certain body doesn't get their desired result, they immediately get to work on change. So what we need to do is, when we do receive a desired result, we need to work just as hard to maintain the status quo.
To keep it. Yeah, I agree with you. And again, we're gonna be tackling these. I wanted to bring up some of the points because we're going to be tackling this for the rest of the year because we know that the midterms are coming up, and there'll be a lot of issues. We're already starting to see for the primaries all the commercials and things you see of these guys running, telling lies on each other, as people say that they tell lies, and some of them are corrupt and this and that. But it's very important that we understand that to participate and to change things, participation is the key. I was going to try to get on here. I don't know if I'm trying to find out how to get on the Facebook, so I want to answer some of these questions. But we'll still answer some of these questions about this as we go along. We're going to be finishing up here. I want to make sure that we get into this. So I want everybody out there to, when you see this later on, and go ahead and submit your comments. But we're going to talk about all-time big red greats.
You know what I want to do? I want to end this live and start a new one.
Why is that?
Yeah, because, well, I'll tell you about it later. But I want to end this. I want to end this one and start a new one. We'll be right back.
Hold on. We'll be right back with the basketball topic. Go ahead.